This is Snakes and Otters, a pointless discussion of eternal questions. Get ready. We're about to live in your head rent-free.
Howdy, y'all. This is episode 243.
I am Martin.
And I'm Robert.
And I'm Francis.
I'm Marcus.
I didn't mean to break you guys up like that. Come on. A little bit of contrast.
Is your horse tied up out front there, partner?
Yeehaw, brothers. Yeehaw.
His expansive backyard full of doggies.
That's right.
He went back to his youth.
That's right. Well, I ain't a
Out in the
Ute, that's for
country.
sure. That's exactly right. I just decided, we always start the thing the same. Let's do a little different. So I decided to do a little
Oh, we
different.
all have a different
I mean, I go Shakespeare, and he goes, howdy doody.
I wouldn't call it howdy doody.
I was thinking John Wayne, but I suppose I should have used the
Pilgrim.
voice. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I might do that again, but I have reasons for that to lean into the American West.
Okay, well, good.
Okay?
I think
as long as there's reasoning.
Nathan Lane did a better John Wayne.
Oh, for God's sakes. Skip a bit, brother. I'm the bloody captain this time, so we'll just do it my way. How's that sound? After that last episode, we talked about authoritarianism and terrorism.
Slip me $20 and I'll mute his microphone.
We'll talk about that later. Okay.
It's become we need that
know
on
what-
we
I
need
know-
that on a button for the Imperator because we go hold that thought. Hold that thought on the Imperator a lot now.
That's right.
A lot now.
I know where you get a lot more for $20 than that.
Yeah.
Hold that thought.
All right.
Just to mute your microphone?
Yeah. There's actually
So we need that on a button.
Yeah. As you've noticed, there's only 4 of us bantering back and forth this time here again because 2 of our members are off in the hinterlands. Brother Andre is way up north in Canada somewhere helping the poor and the needy.
Scouting for annexation.
Yes, something like that. We wish him well. Wish he was here on this one. I would love to hear his opinion.
He's got to bring some of that poutine back, I guess, for us.
Oh, Lord.
That round bacon they call. Yeah.
We'll
Ham, you
try
mean.
it.
Ham.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
right. And Cajun is holding back the waters down in Nelson County because the floods is a coming, And how high is the water, Daddy? 6 foot and rising.
He's got a boat. And he's got getting the animals on there 2 by 2.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I tell you, you know there's a lot of rain that's hit the area when the standing water hits my backyard and my front yard. I've got some puddles in my front
There
yard.
you go. Yeah, we've been. Hey, it's February when we record this. Thank God it ain't snow. Let's
The
just leave-
good
let's
good
just-
news is we've got an ark nearby.
Oh yeah, up northern Kentucky.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the ark is nearby.
I wouldn't exactly call it nearby.
It's an hour away.
yeah. Well, okay. We'll skip a bit on that one here because today's code of honor. We got to go. We get to do code of honor. We're here at the Baxter Building. Yours truly is in the captain's chair, and like I've said before, I pulled this one right out my ass just a few minutes ago between the episodes as we
Right,
recorded.
pulled a Robert.
Hey, hey, if it works for you, hey, I'm all aboard on this one here. Actually, I hadn't told you guys. I've been saving quotations. I got a Pinterest file for stuff that I've just kind of, the more you search for stuff, the more you find different
Oh,
stuff.
so if we want to know what he's going to use, we just need to go to his
We can go to his
Pinterest page.
Pinterest, yeah.
You could. That's right. But again, that I'm not limited to that. It's just when I find something I like that. Let's slide that.
So
away.
my objection, though, is that you're really asking us to wing it. I mean, not that we're not good at that, but you're asking us to
I'm
wing
certainly excellent at winging it.
Damn straight, I'm asking you
it.
to wing it.
I do like being, given a chance to sharpen my razor on these a little
No,
bit.
I have the
What I love about what he just said is he never says that to me
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
because that's the only way I fly.
Well, to be honest, I think it's easier to be authentic because we are fonts of useless knowledge.
And
We all know
yeah.
this. We've talked about this for 240 plus
Yeah.
episodes. We can. What was it we've said since we started this thing? Give us a subject, and we'll talk to you for an hour or two.
Yeah.
No problem.
Easily.
I'm
And it's-
adaptable.
Absolutely, and so we can do this, especially on a quotation. And this one here. You guys are gonna like this. It's a little different. It's of someone we all respect and someone we all consider a great font of knowledge from the American character, and that's Mark Twain.
Okay.
Oh, excellent.
See, I
Love
know-
a Mark
I
Twain.
knew you
Love
guys.
Twain.
I knew you
mean-
guys would be all over it when I told you that.
Again, I do like the chance to sharpen my razor on the strop here, but
I
we
love
could-
how I was stropping his razor there.
Oh,
you know, but
Lord.
we could probably do some Mark Twain here.
I knew you could. That's why I'm going to tell you this one here.
And I do like the use of the
Martin
word
loves to
authenticity.
break at his strop.
And on
Hold that
note-
thought.
Hold that thought.
Sharpening the razor.
All right. Yeah. But I mean, Twain is a
Strop,
font
not
of
strap.
That's right.
We need a new button. Hold that thought.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
like I said,
We'll get-
like
we'll
I
get
said,
that one.
hold that thought. Needs
We-
to be on a button.
Right. Twain, as you know, we could do quotations on end from him. He is
Oh,
one of
yeah.
the most prolific and most quotable guys out there. Possibly between him and Lincoln, the two most quotable Americans. One could make that argument.
A great
Yeah,
cat
pretty
father.
close.
Yeah, very,
He's
very, very,
big on his cats.
yes, very great guy. This one here I picked deliberately though because I really want to hear what you guys say about this because this one here is going to be more personal from our perspective.
Okay.
I think. Okay.
Okay.
This is less about the greatness of the universe than it is from us gentlemen in the room and those not in the room, and but of all people too here. And here it is. It's and I didn't get a long one, guys. Okay, it's nice, pretty brief. Here's the quotation: "Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people always do that, but the really great make you feel that you too can become great."
Mm-hmm.
And I'll repeat it if you want me to.
Sure, we got an hour to fill up. Go
That's
ahead.
right. Keep away. and I think the first sentence is the best. Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people always do that, but the really great make you feel that you too can become great.
Yeah, because there's a couple of angles with
Mhm.
which to attack this one.
I knew you could handle this.
Well,
one,
I think as a group, we don't really we've always been supportive of one another's
Absolutely.
ambitions.
That's what attracted me to this quotation. to
Right.
begin with.
Now, as far as making belittling comments and what have you, we
Well, we're
all do
Gen X,
that-
that's
we
part
do
of it.
that.
Yeah,
we
we
do
do.
that all the time.
That's reflex.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference between
There is.
between the belittling comments of sarcasm
Yeah.
Right.
and the belittling comments
Right.
of control,
Right. I mean, there's people
because
who
that's
make you-
what's going on.
Yeah, you make you feel small.
Yeah,
It's-
we don't
it's
we don't
different
tend to
from
do that.
a little
remarks.
sarcasm. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
So
very supportive
course,
of each other.
part of this is Francis's book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just basically hit.
Well, that's
Yes.
it's
We-
kind
yes.
of one of the
We
things.
brought
that's
our
on my mind.
copies over today. I have his autograph in mind now,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure I can give this due justice. He appreciated that we supported him.
Yes.
I'm not even done yet. I may not even have an actual book, and these
Yeah, you
guys,
do.
they've
do.
supported me
Mm-hmm.
so much, and just stop screwing around, Martin. Get this done.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well.
and it's in my mind all the time now. and-
Positive reinforcement. That's what we're about.
Yeah. So not only is it, like you say, very very personal and very much a part of what we've done, and part of our brotherhood. Why we started to call this the brotherhood.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tenet of leadership.
It is.
in-
There's
in-
no
in
small-mindedness
almost
here.
every realm. Athletics or business or whatever. You get better results when you build people up than when you cut them down.
Right. If you've got somebody that's in a position, whether it be a job or, a position on a team in sports or, musical instrument, if they truly have no talent for what they're doing, because that happens, no amount of saying you can do it is going to make that person better.
Right.
But what will happen when you have somebody that is truly good,
Mhm.
great, as the quote says, they redirect rather than mindlessly saying, being a cheerleader.
Mm-hmm.
The great one will either encourage you in what is obviously something you should do, or help redirect you into something that is better for you to do. That will either be more satisfying or at least able for you to make you able to achieve it, because you do nobody any good. You do a great amount of harm in encouraging somebody to do something that they ought not to do.
I'm so glad you brought that up. And I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on air, but I know I've spoken it to you before. But I have a great admiration for the CEO of the company I used to work for, Signature Healthcare, Joe Steyer. He's our age. He's a Bellarmine graduate. He came through at the same time we did, and he runs a multi-billion-dollar company in the long-term healthcare company. And I worked for them for 5 years, and I was pretty close to. I mean, I wasn't close to the top, but I was in the orbit. And great business leaders, you pick up stuff from them.
Yes.
And his, I will never forget. And he nails this so well. Exactly what you're talking about, Robert. I knew of him at the C level, the top command
Right.
level. He would bring in people and fire them. But would spend an hour with them in his office and telling them why this is not for you, but let's find out what you are good at, what you should do, and where you would be happy. They would leave there on air, walking on air, just having been fired because he took the time to be personal with them and try to build them up as he sent them on their way. I'm sorry, but that's a class act, and that is also a damn good leader. Because he recognized you can't, you're not the fit here. It's not the fit for you, not the fit for us, maybe both, but there's something you're good at. And I've worked with you enough now to think you should look into this. And not that it happened that often, but we would hear the stories of this after the fact. And to me, that's leadership, and that's building people up. Because he didn't have to. He didn't have to do that. I mean, he see ya. That's all. That's the way most folks would do things.
Let's let security escort your ass out.
That's exactly right, and he did not. And I mean, and there were people there. It's a tough industry, and I mean, I remember one lady that came in that she lasted 2 weeks. She was at the vice president level. I'm still not sure how she got through that.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you get through the gauntlet at that level?
Well, she had some experience, and she was mean. I'm not going to mention names or anything, but she was just mean. She didn't understand the culture. And to me, that's the recruiter's problem.
Yeah.
But we don't treat people that way.
I'm just wondering how that doesn't come out in the interview process, because that's
as I've hired people and worked in this arenas and stuff like that over the years, the entire process of hiring and screening, you're just never going to get it.
Well, I mean, the other thing is,
I just don't see how.
I mean, that's a really hard thing to hide.
It was.
They're
That's
mean.
correct. That's right.
But it's the difference between dating and marriage.
Oh, do tell.
Yes.
Do tell. He who has been married longer than any of us here present.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it was
Yes,
just 35 years
yesterday. As we
Dating
record.
is the demo, marriage is the production.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and people are putting on, during both dating and the interview process, they're putting on
Airs.
Airs. They're putting on a false face.
And that's ultimately the conclusion.
lot of
I
times.
came
Not
to.
necessarily.
Not necessarily.
No, because
Not all
no,
people.
it's not that people put on a false face. I mean, obviously some will, because they're just
Mm-hmm.
people that are dirtbags.
You do your best to hide.
But
Yeah.
you try to be your best self.
That's right.
all the time.
That's right. You show your best side, and you kind of ignore the
Yeah.
other
Now,
stuff.
some people are they are hiding it, and they're just being the best that they think that person wants, because they want
Yeah.
something from them.
Mm-hmm.
That
A
does.
job.
That's right. And you know what?
Well, I was thinking in somebody's pants, because we're talking about dating.
Well, there's that too. Yes.
Right. Well, I mean, none of us are in HR or any of that sort of stuff, and I'd be interested in
Thank
talking
God.
to an expert that can. How do you get through all that, and how do you see the right person to find that right fit?
Right.
Because
How
does
do you
do-
find authenticity?
Because it doesn't do anybody any good to make the wrong choice.
Yeah.
But everybody's miserable that way.
And to be fair, who would do that to just get into somebody's pants?
Or just take the job.
Hold that thought.
Again, this needs
That has
to be
got
on
to be a button.
I'm happy to record it anytime you like, Robert.
Yeah, we need to do that.
Hold that thought.
Yeah, hold that thought.
That's right.
You sure you don't want my wife to voice that one?
Oh my God.
Look, listen here. Look,
I think
Anybody
that
who
would-
knows you could voice that.
No, but I think the Empress would be a very good person to put that in there. We could just,
Yeah.
It's kind of like Harry Mudd, calling up Stella,
Hardcore Fenton
Mudd. That's
Hold,
right.
hold that thought, honey.
That's right.
this is not a thought, a sentence I ever thought we'd say, that the Imperator has been married for 35 years.
35 years.
my
all
God,
in
it's
all in a
amazing.
row.
As of
Yeah.
yesterday,
in a row to the same person.
The
Just
same
same
person.
Same
yes.
person.
all in a row.
we're qualifying all this here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
But no,
think, I think I've been married longer than my mother and my two sisters combined.
Wow.
Take the joy for what it is,
I am.
as we do.
Well,
'Cause
we'll-
we all think the world of
I
your wife.
think we're
absolutely.
going to make it till the death part, but I think the death part's for quitters. I think you have to go to the afterlife too.
Well,
That's a theological study for perhaps another episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's to bring up marriage. I mean, this quote applies.
Yeah,
You want a significant other
that's supportive.
that believes in you.
Oh yeah, this
And
is
there are a lot
essential-
of people end up without that.
Yeah.
It's
And they end up
super sad.
divorced.
Yeah, it's super sad to
It
see.
is an
Or
essential
miserable.
quality, I think, in human existence, to surround yourself by people who bring out the best in you. And woe for those who work in those. And companies are the easiest to see.
You know,
And I've worked for some bad ones.
oh yes, you have.
And you all know
You've worked
that.
for some
Yeah.
bad bosses.
That's
oh
correct.
My God,
yeah.
you've
And
worked for bad bosses.
it's up until the
Not saying you do now, by the way. I'm just in
I
the
don't
past.
now.
Yes.
And when I worked
Yes.
for Signature,
Yes, just in case
You know,
the guy at the top is listening, I was not talking about you. I was talking about past bosses.
that's correct. Yeah, and at Signature, as a general rule, it was very good there too.
You had your moments there, though.
I had some moments. There's no question. But then again, who in life
yeah.
doesn't?
But
You always do.
I do wanna,
Everybody does.
I do want to take issue with one thing you just said, though.
Oh yes.
You said that it's human nature to want to surround ourselves with, and I'm trying to paraphrase this, people who make us better. And I don't think that's accurate.
It should be. Let me rephrase. It
Well,
should be.
It
Well,
should be, but I think
Unless you're surrounding yourself with a bunch of sycophants.
well, and that's the thing.
Well, I mean, I'm
we-
sure Vladimir Putin certainly is, right?
Well, in his mind, that's what makes him better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because everybody agrees with him. But I think what for too many people, especially those that experience the worst in relationships,
Mhm.
we tend to want to surround ourselves with, instead of those who make us better, give us the least harm instead.
that
Interesting way of putting it.
that
yes.
affirm us in the
In our mediocrity.
easiest,
So they're
in the
going-
easiest ways. Yeah.
They go with the least of two evils.
Well, sometimes it's not even that.
Affirm us in our
Um,
mediocrity.
Yeah, it's like I tell people, I will not affirm you in your
Enable.
okayness.
Yeah.
Enablers.
It's not even that so much, because for those that have been beat down, they are generally the enablers,
Yeah, a lot of times.
and they don't even realize it. They've been beat
Mhm.
into submission so badly that they
They're
become
always going to be
enables.
submissive. Oh.
But far too often, because too many people grow up in a situation or have an adulthood in a situation where they're told that you can't do that.
Mhm.
Nobody likes to hear that. So maybe instead of finding somebody that says you can do that, they end up with people that don't even care one way or the other.
Apathy is a grave
that's
problem.
Or what's even worse is that they've come to believe they can't do something. So they find people who do affirm that, so that they think, oh, hey, he already thinks like I do, or she already thinks like I do, because they know they already know I'm a loser. And that's a horrible thing.
Mhm.
And so, and that's why I think that's important to note that, we don't always look for people to build us up.
Hence the reason Twain decided to call us out.
Exactly.
He sees that as a comment. I'll tell you one thing that really struck me in this arena a long time ago. Well, not that long ago, when I first started writing. And you all, I was a big Dilbert fan. I think most of us were. Or I would read him every day. And you may even remember the issue, the strip when Dilbert comes to I cannot remember. Carol, I think, is the receptionist. And
No, Carol is the one with the triangle hair, I think.
that's Tina. I think that's Tina. I think the other's Carol. I may be wrong.
It's been a long time.
Not a big problem. Anyway, he comes to the receptionist and he says, and this is
Very
why,
subtle, Martin. I like that.
and this is when I was getting ready to write the novel. I was
going off.
really into that first writing it, and he says, I'm thinking about writing a novel, and the receptionist, she says, stop right there, shut your mouth. I have no ambition. Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane,
Stay in
yeah.
your lane. I have no ambition, and I despise those who do.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, whoa.
And usually they're not the receptionists; they're the middle managers.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, Scott Adams could have chosen whoever he did, but
Right.
It was. I just realized there are some people that will hate you for trying.
Yeah, well, that's because those who hate you for trying, I think they project their own failings on others as a rule, because they always expect people to fail
Because
to meet
they
their expectations.
because they have.
And no, to fail to meet their expectations. So if you're a failure and you project that,
Mhm.
you expect people to not meet your expectations.
Okay.
Which is really ironic, because you set the expectations absurdly high, even though you have no expectations in reality. So you hold them accountable to something you don't even think they can meet anyways, which is really insidious to begin with.
Yeah.
When you think about
Well,
it.
but the I'm trying to contrast this with the people that Twain surrounded himself with.
Oh, I love that you've
which
gone there.
which was
yes.
the Aquarium Club,
Mm-hmm.
which was 10 young schoolgirls that, and he was in his 70s.
Right. Now,
So
in fairness, I do not know when this quote was
yeah,
made
so
from
the
him.
the pit
But
the whole pedophilia aspect of
if you
of
study Twain a
things.
lot, you'll realize very quickly and that Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens was the decent family man. Mark Twain's was an asshole.
Yeah.
And that he became very much more schizophrenic because when he would do his, because many times he would go on tour just to talk. And by this time he's written most of his works, and he's gotten into financial issues, but people will fill auditoriums to hear him talk.
Oh yeah.
The first stand-up comedian.
Absolutely. And he's constantly done this. So he cultivates this personality of Twain that is really just an asshole. He just really is awful. And I don't know where this when this quotation was made, and how Twainian this is, or how Clemensian this might be between the two, because there is a distinct difference. If you catch him in his Clemens moments, he was very reflective, thoughtful, almost depressive, because he bemoaned the issues that they had, the family problems he'd had, the financial issues he'd had, which because he had some huge ups and downs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because he bad investments and just lots of things. People took advantage of his fame all over the place.
He was close to his daughter. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes.
That's what this feels like. Is maybe something that he wrote. That maybe she published later or something like that. Maybe.
Good question. Again, I don't know. I can't give you the context to where it comes from. It doesn't sound like it sounds like it's Twain talking. It does not sound like this is taken from one of his works.
Yeah.
So
It's not the. When you think of Twain, you can often think of just sarcasm.
Yeah,
Which is probably why Gen X likes him.
Yeah, the homespun humor and all those things like that.
Yeah, and this is very much it's a serious thing.
Very much so.
It's not making a funny at all. So maybe that makes people think, but it's said in a way though that is very Mark Twain. It is very much that person. So I have no problem believing it's him for sure.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, especially when stuff comes out after a person has been dead and gone, and look at Nietzsche's sister is a great example.
How she may have re-edited some of his
Or
stuff.
what was
Exactly.
it? One of Reagan's kids was very anti-Reagan. Which was,
Oh, that could be several.
yeah.
Well, but his son.
His son,
Well, that came later though.
Yeah,
Ron,
was.
Ron Jr. was that relationship soured at some point. I think,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
during the presidency. You're thinking though, I think of the girl, the daughter,
Possibly.
because she was one that famously never had a good relationship with Reagan, which is very sad.
Right.
But anyways, I think Martin's got something.
Oh, just Gilbert.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes.
Alice was the tech writer.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Oh no, Tina was the tech writer.
Okay. Yes.
Alice was the triangle hair engineer. Carol was the secretary.
Okay.
So he's right. Carol's secretary. Tina
Is the technical
is
writer.
the technical writer. Alice is
Alice
the other.
is the one with the
is
triangle.
the
hair.
Oh yeah.
triangle hair that
and
was,
Alice is the
that
one
was also an engineer.
that appears all the time.
Yeah.
Alice. I mean, the others were less.
She was the one that had severe anger issues.
That's right. With the flying fist of death, I believe.
Fist of
Alice.
death.
Ironically, out of the two podcasts that we've recorded today, this has been the biggest dispute.
That's because it's just a love fest when we all gather together. We all just so southern.
That damn ADD just kicks up in all of us, and
not every code of honor has to be contentious.
No, I mean,
There's maybe more fun when they are.
Yeah, certainly.
those-
it can be
uh-huh.
more interesting.
If we
It
can
causes
find
us to stretch.
It is,
Yeah.
and we have to figure, and we just kind of have to land there. We can't plan it,
No,
Right,
no.
and
I like quotes that not just are good quotes, but that make us examine our preconceptions.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess I was just feeling sentimental today.
Well, no,
And
I think
just
this is a good
decided-
one because
That's a good quote.
this is something that even people who are aware of this as a principle
Mhm.
Yeah.
need to be reminded.
they don't
and
do it.
people who
They
don't,
do it, yeah.
This is true.
even think about this need to think about
Yeah.
it
Mhm.
because there are far too many influences in our lives that are designed to tear us down,
Mhm.
to make us conform, to make us toe the
Right.
line, whether it's politically or socially.
As Martin would say, life's too short for that shit.
Yeah.
It is.
That's what-
Revolt against
And-
the education system.
There's a lot of systems that need to be revolted
This
against.
is true.
You know, again, it sounds like
It's not the people that are revolting.
leadership.
It's the systems.
Yeah, it's leadership mantra. You know, you're off on the retreat, and you know this is the quote they start when the 200 slide PowerPoint deck with. You know,
Really? You think that?
Oh
but
man.
it's much better than that.
Yeah, because
It's
the
it's
operative word I think
personal.
is
It's
is-
very personal.
is the operative words I think are belittle your ambitions,
Mhm.
and that's the word ambitions is
Yeah.
what takes this to that global level.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I mean, if
you,
you
substitute
have
that
a-
for dreams, you
yeah,
could say
It's-
that.
exactly. You
it's
have a
bullies.
friend.
Bullies do this.
Yeah,
Oh, very good. That's exactly
a
right.
friend or an acquaintance that you tell an ambition to or a dream to,
Mhm.
and they go, "Oh, that's freaking stupid." Then
Or,
Mhm.
that's
You
not
want to write a
person-
book?
You don't want to have that
Just
person as a
stay
friend.
in your lane.
Get
Yeah,
out,
as
get
they
out.
say.
Yeah,
You know, I just had this kind of discussion with my mother, and now she's blocked on my phones in Victoria's.
Sometimes you got to do
what you got to
gots
do.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So I mean, that is the yeah, it's sentimental, which there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, this is
No, absolutely not.
this is
Mhm.
it's a good day. It's a celebration day. Again,
Mm-hmm.
we've been talking about this for a long time. You know, I'm still celebrating Francis's success here. This
Mhm.
realization of this dream.
Yes.
It's amazing. It's like I hold in my hand this book that sprang from his imagination and
Mhm.
his hard work.
The fruit of his loins.
And this is listeners. I
Not
mean,
exactly,
Not
no.
exactly.
He's
but
not sitting around here all the time. This is like spare time, snatching moments in the evenings watching TV.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Writing this, he has a full time job and another
full-time ministry. and-
ministry
Yeah,
job. You know, and
Yeah.
3 grown kids that still have attention and family obligations, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like this is amazing to
And
me.
Her Majesty.
Well,
Yes.
that's absolutely,
I mean,
yeah.
it was just amazing to me, the accomplishment and the work
Mhm.
that was.
She
went
was
into it,
she was
and-
very supportive of this. She didn't understand it for a while. Of course, I didn't even reveal. I don't think I know if I told you guys
Yeah.
knew about it long before I ever told her, because if it wasn't gonna, if I couldn't find the traction to make it real, and I decided to give up, well, I didn't want to embarrass myself to her. To
Right.
have done that because
Well,
I wasn't sure. I kind of, part of me knew I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
She still had. I wanted to get it where it was at least embryonic.
The seeds of this started before you moved into this house.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
absolutely. Because I remember the seeds of what it started as
Mhm.
Yeah.
turned into something totally different.
Yeah, it was a fan fiction. Was I was going to do just for fun, just a
Right.
lark. Yeah.
Exactly,
Mhm.
and which is great that because I think that people who write fan fiction get a lot of bad press, but if for nothing else, it stretches your mind.
That's right. It's great practice.
good way to start.
It's
It
a,
is.
It's a low pressure way, so you don't have to because you don't have to create characters. You don't do all that to learn how to craft the skills
Right,
to
you're
write.
playing in somebody else's universe.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't have
But
to do that part.
But you're still expressing your creativity. in
Exactly,
your
that's
own
what I'm
way.
saying.
Yeah.
That's right.
So even if you do it badly, the nice thing
Yeah.
about fan fiction is that, well, it used to be that it never got published. Now, fan fiction is on Kindle Unlimited all over the place, whether it's called that or not. But it's still though it lets people get out. That's one of the things I love about Kindle Unlimited
Mhm.
and self-publishing. It puts a lot of dreck out there, a lot of just stuff that should never ever have been published.
Okay.
But
Somebody likes it.
somebody, well,
No, the person who wrote it,
Personally wrote it.
Quora is full of questions about this stuff, and they always come back and say, "Well, the reason nobody's buying your dreck, as you say, is
Yeah.
because it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, it's not even a real thing. You got
Mhm.
10 pages here that are poorly written stuff, and you're wondering why nobody buys it.
well,
Well, there's that. Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
there's a lot. I think there's probably less of that than you think, but there's no matter what, it gives people an outlet
Mhm.
for that creativity, for those
Yeah.
ambitions. That now, granted, those are particular ambitions and particular outlets,
Mhm,
but,
absolutely.
but it gives people an outlet for that. One thing that struck me as to why, somewhere. have a digital copy of one of the very first Star Trek Voyager novels.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's Homecoming, so it's novelization of right after they get back from the Delta Quadrant.
Okay.
And I'm reading through this because I thought about going back and reading these the Voyager series for whatever reason, and so I was reading through this and I'm reading it and I was like, this is awful.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not fan fiction.
Okay.
This got
This
published.
is published.
yeah.
A real publisher, a real
Yeah.
As in
editor.
Paramount allowed this. Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
And it is almost entirely telling, not showing.
yeah.
It is bad telling.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I'm reading this and I'm like, how did this get past editors?
It's the same way you end up with shit art hanging in galleries.
That's true. Somebody will buy it.
Yeah.
Well, and I've done a lot of research on
and you did.
and on the paperback explosion that really from after the war up until around the 90s to early 2000s at the latest, where you had it, the dime novels, the quarter novels, even up to even 2 and 250.
The pulps.
Yeah, the pulps they kind of start that way, but they became these paperback novels that they just wanted it. I mean, there are ghostwriters everywhere. Lots of series
Yes.
that were doing this stuff, and there were people that made whole businesses on getting these people that come and write this stuff. They throw it out there because there was an insatiable desire for whatever you could make stick. And some of it, and I've read many of it, it sucked bad. It was bad,
Yes.
but somebody finished it.
Yeah.
Somebody
And they-
finished it.
and they could polish up to make sure that the sentences made sense, and they put it out there because they're not paying much for it, but you can still sell 1 million copies
Well, I mean,
because put it in the drugstores and you got it.
But you've got Harlequin romance
That's
stuff.
part of that.
That crap is, as far as I'm concerned anyway, is crap. But
Harlequin
but
romance
people-
writers make a crap ton of
they
money.
do. They
so I will
sell.
never call it crap.
Well,
They sell. They
now,
do sell. Now,
they-
whether or not
they have survived
They've
and
survived, okay.
remorphed themselves into that because romance is it's the number one selling thing and everybody wants it.
You want to get another thing: adult books from adult bookstores.
As in novels.
I'm an adult. I like to read.
They're actual paperback books,
Yes, I
and they
understand.
sell, and
Yeah.
they're picked up by truck drivers, other kinds of
Right.
all kinds of people buy the stuff. Do I think it's absolutely horrible writing? But somebody wants to read it.
Something to do on.
Yeah, exactly. Let's say it's escapism.
Well, ultimately, all
Yeah.
stories, fiction that is, are
Yes.
some form
Well,
of that.
even nonfiction,
Mhm.
depending on what it is, biographies can be just as much escapism
Yeah.
as
Sure, absolutely. Yeah,
or
it's not just
any
limited.
history book
Yeah.
can be just as much escapism.
Well, what was it that Forum magazine
Penthouse Forum back in the
was it
day.
Penthouse?
Yeah, that was back in the
Okay,
day.
Yeah,
that was a huge.
that was
they
a
had
huge. Had huge sales.
Yeah, and it's all the written word.
It's all written.
they discovered
word,
it was-
It's all
it's
horrible.
essentially- it's-
Well, I mean,
And it was free
Playboy.
for them to do because people sent those stories in
Exactly.
Sure, absolutely.
and
Yeah.
got nothing for them.
Exactly. But
But,
I mean,
they
well,
sell.
that's like Playboy. It's sold so you could read the articles.
On that,
What else is in it?
I didn't know there was anything else in it.
Wow.
on that interesting note,
Hold that thought.
Bourbon break.
yes, we need to slide into our bourbon break here. Last episode, we Robert and I had the Basil Hayden 10-year, and Martin here had the blueprint, and we switched around this time here, and I'm very interested. Holy mackerel!
Martin has finished his Basil Hayden 10-year.
You finished it, or you never filled it?
No, he filled it.
Okay. I thought so. Yeah. Well, do tell. Do tell.
Well, it's similar notes to what you all. It's very good. The blueprint to me is a little more complex,
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
a little more flavorful. This is. I mean, there's no such thing as bad Basil Hayden, especially if it's been aged 10 years. It's going to be terrific.
It is. Yeah.
But it's sort of a one-noter, but it's a really good one note.
Yeah, and plus, I said in the last show it was a 90 proof, but it's an 80 proof.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
an 80
okay.
proof.
Well, that's
proof.
that. I now that you say that, that does
Yeah.
make sense. I thought it was just bloomed a lot because
Yeah.
No, it's-
but the
almost chuggable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 80 proof high rye. So
Yeah.
I mean that's what you're getting. You're getting 80 proof high rye.
But very
Uh,
smooth for the
yeah.
for a high rise. So.
Yeah.
But it does have the intended pepper that Basil Hayden has.
Hmm.
I mean
But it doesn't hang around.
That's what it is. It that's what they built. So it's good stuff.
Yeah. It's nowhere near as mellow as the Blueprint
Oh yeah, well,
by a long
I
shot.
like that word mellow. I just cannot say enough great things about this blueprint. I really
Yeah.
do like it.
So this is 100 proof,
Uh-huh.
and how long was
Yeah.
it aged?
6 years.
6 years.
6
6 years.
years.
Yeah, which is
So
It's-
to me that's
Kind of
I
the
wouldn't call it the sweet spot because I still like them higher age
Yeah.
and proof.
It's a good starting.
But that
place,
to me that's your starting point.
Yeah,
That's when you
yeah.
start getting into the really good
I'd
stuff. As a
compare-
general rule, obviously.
Comparing the two, I would definitely, if I was drinking, go more with the Blueprint than the Basil Hayden's.
I don't know, that's almost sacrilege for me to say that, but gosh, I love that blueprint.
Yeah, the spice.
Well, it depends on what you're
spice
going
level.
for. You know,
It is.
like I said, I consider Basil Hayden along with 1792,
Yeah.
even the Woodford Double Oaked, comfort bourbons in the sense that you know what you're going to get, and sometimes
Oh, yeah.
that's really what you want.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Yeah. You want consistency if you're gonna
Yeah, because
stick
we
with
we
one
enjoy
bourbon.
those, in the Four Roses, those things,
Yeah.
they're except for the Double Oak, they're all relatively low dollar entry points.
Right.
And that's one of the good things about them is that they're a great starter bourbon. And while I personally would not mix with any of these,
No.
I think they're ones because the lower dollar amount. You could, and I would
Oh,
be
yeah.
that would be
Well,
perfectly acceptable.
you'll
I
pay.
mean, I wouldn't pour like an entire bottle of Diet Coke on it or something, but
Blueprint, you'll pay $60 for
Yeah.
right. This is a little bit higher.
a little bit, but it's a smaller company.
Mm-hmm.
But daggone, it's just got
I
that. It's got that
yeah.
butter mellow complexity. I think is exactly the word that
It's
Mark
funny.
used. That
You
that-
said
that's-
butter as
yeah.
I was just swishing that, giving it a good chew.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
Wow, I actually got it right
It
on
is
the
a
taste side.
butter-
'cause
I
it's
think
a-
you do.
it's
I
a
think
butter
notoriously-
I can
smooth
see that in the
sweetness.
smell.
that
Maybe I've hope for me after all.
Mhm.
that buttercream.
Yeah.
Not super creamy,
sweetness.
but
But
at least to
buttery,
me, of
yeah.
course,
Right,
I'm also
right,
a little
but
watered down. But yeah,
it's that
Yeah.
same sweetness though of like
No.
that kind
Yes.
of the creamy butter, unsalted.
But
It's good.
But coming from a person whose mainstay was Booker's, I would consider the Blueprint a very good house bourbon.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a
And
high,
I can
higher-
understand
high-end,
your,
yeah.
your choice of that, Francis. I really can, because I'd lean towards that one too.
Well, I think I told you all last. This is my second bottle of this.
Yes, that's what you were
I think
saying.
I still prefer the Heaven Hill bottled and bond we had last time.
I sure do like that. There's no doubt about
Yeah.
that. I don't know. One of the things that in both cases with the Heaven Hill, which I mean I have some in there. I haven't cracked mine, but the bottles themselves. We don't talk much about this because it's audio. It's not visual. But all of the bottles of most of the ones that we try, there's an attractiveness to that design. We don't.
Yes,
talk
I have
about-
talked. I have talked about how, not the particulars, but as a general rule, the more time they spend on the bottle, the more likely I am to enjoy that. Not because the aesthetic does something to me, but they putting the money and the care into the bottle makes me think they're going to put the money and the care into the bourbon.
That is exactly right. And this Blueprint bottle,
Hopefully.
it is taller
Hopefully, yes.
and thinner
Mhm.
than many. It's very.
It is a traditional whiskey shape,
It's a straight edge
It's-
bottle.
but it is thinner and taller.
Thank you. I like that. It's very mathematical.
yeah.
Yes.
Which
Oh,
is-
that's a great way to put it.
Which
Yes.
is it just looks that way.
It's actual cylinders as opposed to a
Right.
slightly sloping
Right. I mean,
Yes.
and
side.
you could. Hey, it's art. It's not science.
Yeah.
But this is leaning into the name itself is the blueprint.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's accurate.
It's very,
yes.
it's
the
very,
straight
it's
lines,
very
the-
simple
the
and
clarity, the
Yeah.
cleanliness, and I think that it reflects that in the actual product itself.
Mhm.
Putting that bourbon in a Weller bottle or a Cooper's Craft bottle
Or a 1792
1792 bottle, exactly
Would be
what I
a
was gonna
big
say next.
mistake.
yeah, and
It
look
does not fit.
well, and look.
So you must acquit.
Yeah,
Comparing the
glad you
two,
said it because I was about to. That's right.
The glass seems to be much clearer on the Blueprint than on the Basil Hayden. The Basil Hayden's got kind of a foggy glass.
Interesting.
comparatively
Yeah. Now that
speaking.
now that
I
you
don't
look,
know.
now that I look at the same, you're exactly right.
Yeah, it's much brighter bottle.
Well, and the label on the blueprint, is not on the stem but on the body itself.
Yes.
Whereas the basil,
It's
it puts it in
both,
both places.
yeah.
Of course, it's wrapped in that copper.
Yeah, which
Uh,
is quite elegant.
Copper cask holder, I guess.
Yeah.
Which that's Basil's marketing thing. All
Yeah.
their bottles, all their
I
brands
kind of miss the paper wrapper that we
that we had
started
for a
out
long
with,
time.
but I do like
But
the metal ring.
Yeah, because it's a pain in the ass, that old metal,
Yeah.
that paper wrapper. I mean, the real cork now. Yeah, I'm glad they changed
Yeah.
to that. It's for
Well, it had a cork before.
yeah, but it's all funkified. It just wasn't clear. It wasn't. I mean, this is the mathematician in me. Not that I am that, but it's just sometimes you want it to be.
I am curious about the difference in the glass quality.
Well, that is a big thing.
That might be thinner glass. Honestly, I'm not seeing that myself. Other than this, I'm also looking at a gray wall on the other side of it, and there's gray labels
Yeah.
on that bottle. That's going to influence your perception of it, but also that 10-year bourbon might be a little darker by itself than the 6-year, even though that's a higher proof.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at straight through the glass, and there's a huge difference in the clarity.
But you've still got that heavy gray surrounding what you're looking through. That's still going to peripherally influence your.
And one thing,
perception of the color.
and you can
And again, you might still be right. I'm just saying it's
I
hard to say.
understand.
rarely do we actually take the time to compare bottles, but I think it's a really great thing because
the first time we've done that.
that is dark. I mean, of course, it's 10 years, so it's going
Yeah.
to be the basil is very, very dark, whereas the blueprint, it is.
It's dark, but it's not as dark.
No, it's right.
it's
It's
not
much
as dark,
lighter.
yeah.
And of course, it's only 6 years. So,
But it's higher proof too. So I think
see-
they're very close
yeah.
in
I mean,
color.
there's
I
no
think that's
question.
a little richer.
Yeah,
on the basil.
Richer's not bad. That's a good word. That's a good word, but I don't know. Martin, what's your if not that we're in a competition, but go ahead. Which one you prefer?
Since you topped off again.
Well, yeah, and since I topped off with what I was drinking the previous episode,
Oh, so you're back on the
Oh.
blueprint.
yeah, I
You like it that much?
I abandoned basil and went back to Blueprint. This is just
So we've
I
got,
would-
we've got 3.
I
it's so complex, but
for
still-
sentimental reasons, I
Yes, it's hard. Yes, for the sentimental reasons, it's hard to walk away.
It is.
and the quality is
Basil.
good. Don't
It
get
is-
me
oh,
wrong.
it
It's
is.
good. We're not disparaging.
No.
but also I let mine sit and water down too much because when we get talking, it's easy to forget. You should keep
Yeah.
sipping, but
Gee, you think? Yeah, we do that all the time.
But by the time I got to the end of finishing the 10-year, it was so watered down because so much of the ice had melted. It really,
We might have lost some of the.
I absolutely think
Yeah.
we lost some of it because I
some
mean,
of the good stuff.
it wasn't that way earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost this is one I think almost might be better to test neat, and then add the ice and test it. Give
Interesting.
it a little bit of time to bloom.
Add a little bit of water at a time.
I think I still like it chilled.
Okay.
But that's certainly a way to do it because I think the temperature changes things too.
Yeah, I much prefer mine chilled. But hey, you can put it in the
Yeah, in the
refrigerator for a
fridge,
little
yeah.
while. Let it
Absolutely.
chill. That's not a
But
problem.
I think the water though, the melting of the ice though is what helps it bloom. But
Yeah.
I think doing it neat, adding the ice, and then taking the ice out after an appropriate amount of time to compare the two
Ooh,
might
we've
be
never
a-
done that.
Yeah.
That's
might be in order because
We're gonna start experimenting with ice and waters and things like that now.
well, I tell you when I do,
Oh, that sounds
Bourbon's-
hard.
well,
but it's bourbon, so it's okay.
we've been notoriously. I mean, think how far we've come, guys.
Oh,
Might
yeah.
be
Yeah,
overthinking
where we started this.
just a little bit.
Well, I mean, when we started Bourbon Break, I mean, this was back in what 2020. This is 5 years of bourbon loving and tasting.
Well,
and
bourbon was
learning.
part of the show originally from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Right.
We just didn't specifically have a break for it.
Right.
And we
yes.
didn't always talk about bourbon in the early episodes.
That's true, but so that's 2019. That's 6 years that we've been on this journey, and we've learned so much. We've been to Bourbon Fest twice. We've been touring distilleries.
Oh, speaking of which,
Yes.
we have. You're right.
Oh, that's right. You have a story.
It's
Yeah,
not
you've got
it's
to-
not a
yeah.
huge story. Just the experience. So Martin and I, we did Buffalo Trace. I think it was the
was-
Monday before Christmas. It was right.
Yes,
before
it was Christmas season.
Mm-hmm.
I ended
And-
up sending some of the things we bought
to Bjorn.
to Bjorn and
That's right.
his lovely Japanese
Girlfriend, say it.
girlfriend. Yes.
Yes.
Say it.
So that was the first time I'd been to Buffalo Trace, and of course I went with you.
Yeah.
And Buffalo Trace is very interesting.
It's
They
fun.
really know how to market there. They
Right.
really do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I went back this time because I've been wanting to pick up the E.H. Taylor.
Love it.
And I've never had a bottle of my own, but we've had it on the show. Matter of fact, Brother Andre brought it here the first
Right.
time.
I was trying to remember
It's
when
awesome.
because I thought we'd tried it here, but I couldn't remember.
I think Brother Andre's first or second time on the show, he brought it.
Right, because he found it at the liquor store over near where he lives. Which
Yes.
you just can't find it.
It is very difficult to find. And
he didn't even realize that he had gotten a diamond when he
Right.
found it. He brought
And
it in. And ooh.
I don't know. I don't even remember which one he got because there's bottled and bomb, there's a single barrel, and there's the small batch. Small batch is what's available.
It's
I wish he were here.
regular
He could-
entry
He could tell us. Yeah,
small batch one. Yeah.
and I think that's
So,
the ones that we have.
And the small batch is what you get at the.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think
So,
that's what we have.
I
yeah.
found out that not only was the E.H. Taylor, but also the Weller Special Reserve was available this past Wednesday. And I happened to be off from work because I'd been up all night for various reasons, partially because we lost power for several
Yeah.
hours.
and
when-
because we're getting old. Just go ahead and say it.
Well, when you have a CPAP and you lose power,
Yeah,
not having the CPAP working, it makes it hard to sleep.
I totally
It
get
really
it.
does.
Are there any of us that aren't on CPAP?
Uh,
Oh, we got
Martin.
one.
Martinius is
Martin
not.
isn't.
Yes.
So, anyways, I thought, all right, screw it. I rested up a bit. I'm going to go. I got there right around noonish, and walked away with 4 bottles of bourbon.
Mhm.
Oh wow. Yeah.
One, I picked up the Weller and the E.H. Taylor. Was very pleased to do that.
Oh yeah. Those are
Who was
tough.
the sales lady?
I picked them up on my own. Thank you.
Oh, okay. You didn't get pushed.
No,
Oh, good.
no, they're very good about not pushing you.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah,
They really are.
Yeah.
They're usually too busy just
Just stocking.
yeah,
Yeah.
just shoveling it onto
Yeah.
the shelves.
Although a lady in the
huge-
upstairs is
huge
trying to
complex.
talk
Yeah.
me, try to talk me into buying all kinds of stuff in the upstairs part of the gift shop, which I also want to talk about it real quick. But anyways, so I picked up the H. Taylor, the Weller, and bottle of Buffalo Trace because it's cheaper there than it is
Yeah.
Right.
in the
Which-
stores, even though it's not an allocated bourbon anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't have any Buffalo Trace. I really need to get some.
Right. So,
but Martin has kind of told me that it tasted like toothpaste, so I didn't do it.
well,
F. Martin, you didn't
It's-
just say
it's-
that, did we?
it's-
no. I mean, I've not opened it yet, so I can't.
Yeah, I
remember.
mean it's supposed to not be on allocation, but it's still kind of hard to find. There wasn't any in Kroger this morning.
Really, I see it at Kroger's by my
I've
house.
I've
all the
seen
time.
it. I know I've seen it at Total Wine and at
They have it
Liquor
at
Barn
the
on-
Kroger's
on
in
display.
Cord or the Walmart in Cord has it all the time.
Yeah.
So the other thing I picked up was this half-size bottle, one of their special releases,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like 125, 126 proof. So it's a barrel proof. One of just their special releases. I forget exactly what they call it, but I picked that up too. So those are I walked out with 3.5 bottles, maybe. but,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
by the time Mrs. Robert listens to this, it'll be long in the past. So it won't get in quite as much trouble for the amount of money that I spent. But it was just a great.
she will have forgiven you by then.
Yes. Well, she already has. She said that she maybe. I told her, this is Valentine's Day,
Valentine present. That's
birthday, all rolled into one. Maybe even anniversary.
Yeah.
Later this year. And he says, so you have great taste. You did a great job with my present. She said to me,
You laid it
that-
on thick.
she might be great at picking out presents, but that I'm apparently going to be exceptional at picking out birthday presents for her. So I said,
Those are words we all love to hear.
well, no, that just
Oh.
means she's going to buy something very expensive for herself.
Yes.
That's okay. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I asked, so
outdo
It's a
you.
little tit for tat.
yeah, sort of. She was kind of kidding about it, but but it's going to a distillery is always fun because you get to see how everything's made. And I didn't do a tour, obviously, but they've got just a lot of stuff there in the gift shop. That's just lots of fun stuff to buy.
I don't want to interrupt, but Her Majesty. Has
All hail
just-
Her
All
Majesty.
hail Her Majesty. Mrs. Francis has walked into the recording studio
Uh-huh.
with us. She's never done this in
And
240 some
she
odd.
bowed.
That's the Queen's wave.
Yes.
Yes.
She's giving that to all of
She
us.
had-
The-
she
it's
had
like the
that
royal wave.
Royal wave, absolutely.
yes.
That's correct. That's right. Yeah, all hail Her Majesty as she walks past.
That's the royal wave.
That's right.
Came from this, means this anyway.
That's right.
Yeah.
Good thing that we're audio only, folks.
Yes.
All right.
But anyways,
Like waving one finger 5 at a time.
exactly.
The flying finger friendship.
So it's a fun thing to do. They rotate what's available every day, but lately they're not running out. So I don't know if it's just because they're putting that much more out, or just the traffic at the distillery is going down.
Traffic is probably
Well,
down. I mean, it is.
I think that's
winter.
part of it.
Well, because the
Well-
four that are on allocation on a regular basis, it's available every week. I mean,
Right.
You don't ever have to wait but a few
Well,
days.
Right, but I mean,
And-
the Weller Special Reserve, it's the lowest end Weller. It's
Yeah.
$30.
Yeah, it's not
It's
bad.
not like you're getting the 12-year or the
Even the
antique
Eagle Rare.
107.
I mean,
they-
you,
they
can,
all-
you
they
can get it
also-
every 8 to 10 days. You know.
Oh, you can get it a couple times a week.
yeah.
But
it's-
you're also seeing these articles coming out about how the sales are dipping and dropping.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up.
I don't know. I mean, I'm
because
sure it's
I've heard
true.
a lot of people saying that bourbon
Yeah.
is it is waning. The popularity, the
Well,
desire. Some of it is blaming the
that's what-
secondary market. I'm
That's
not
what
sure how
happened with
true that
craft
is.
beers.
See, that's what we're talking
It
about.
also happened with tequilas. Everything goes in phases. Cigars.
does.
It's cyclic.
Yeah, cyclic.
Cyclic.
To me, the weird thing about it is that it's not like there was a whole lot of chatter in places where people talk about bourbon about things seem to be slowly.
Yeah, you're not hearing that.
All of a sudden, it
within the
was, oh
system.
my God, we're in a near recession for bourbon.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, well,
It was very sudden. All of a sudden, I'm not saying it was planned, but when everybody all of a sudden is saying the exact same thing,
It is going to help depress the
It-
market.
yeah, and it makes me wonder: is that Francis mentioned the secondary market? Secondary market sucks.
absolutely.
It does.
for
People
beer
who
money,
have
yeah.
a crap ton of money go in and buy the good stuff, and they make it hard for everybody else to get it.
Okay.
That's right. And I worry about some of the larger distilleries. I don't think I'm going to give them the benefit of doubt. You know me, I'm an optimist, that they're not attempting to feed this secondary market anymore. They're just doing the best they can. And the natural greed that so many have.
I don't know
is-
that.
I don't know. You guys.
I don't know that distilleries try to feed the second because they
I
don't.
wouldn't think
they don't
so.
sell to the secondary
That's
market.
correct. It
And-
doesn't
and-
affect them
and-
any. But
I mean, it does gin up demand. No pun intended.
Yeah.
and I wonder
Right.
if that's strategically might make something.
But we're seeing more and more of those things which we hadn't seen on the shelves or
Yeah.
couldn't find on the shelves. You're seeing them on the shelves now. They're
So-
sticking around.
Buffalo Trace spent something like $7 million over 7 years, something like that, modernizing and ramping up production capability.
Yep.
And Buffalo Trace, as Martin noticed, is no longer on allocation. Last year,
right.
this time, they dumped 20,000 cases into the retail markets. That was unheard of for.
That's right.
Buffalo
They
Trace.
finally caught up with demand, and I
Right.
get you can't predict that stuff.
No, but
But and
but
you
the
can't
Blantons,
turn
the
this stuff
Eagle
around
Rare,
either.
the Special Reserve, the Weller Special Reserve, and the E.H. Taylor. And again, it's the small batch, so it's not like it's there's a ton of that made. Supposedly, production of those has been ramped up as well.
Yeah.
So
But even
maybe
if you-
other things will start being on allocation.
I hope so
Even
because
if you ramp up production, you're still looking at that gap between when you're putting it in the barrel and when you're actually.
Yes.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
brought that up because that's exactly right. You
And
can't
it's,
turn
you're
these
gonna-
things
it's
around
gonna
on
be
a dime.
hard to predict markets on a.
And
It is. That's why I'm
7, 10-year
impressed with the amount of
basis.
money they spent.
I am because
Oh,
to
yeah.
me that tells me they're responding to the demand and they're
Mhm.
and like any good business they cannot stand lost sales. To me that's the death of a business in a once you reach a certain level that lost sales can never be recaptured.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody goes on to something else or whatever and they recognize that
Sorry, Basil Hayden.
well Basil's always kept up.
Oh, I know.
Uh,
Talking
it-
about us
well, and-
today.
Well, and that's Beam, and that's because Beam is, they're at the top of the game.
Oh, yeah.
They've done this for a long, long time, and they know how to. I mean, they're the ones that introduced the line extension with the Bookers, the Basil Haydens, and the Knob Creek.
Oh yeah.
Nobody'd ever done that
Right.
before.
That was all in the late 80s.
yeah,
Early to late 80s.
92.
No, all that started before then. Basil didn't come in until then, I think.
Because I thought they all came in at the same time, but
No,
you're
I
right.
I think some of the others came in the 80s.
Reason I know this is I had to do a little research because in my book, Red Moscow, available
Yes.
now from Amazon
Plug.
and Barnes and Noble and all other great Jumpmaster Press and all other great booksellers out there. I had a moment. It takes place in August of '91, and there's a scene in the Kennedy Center, where one of my main characters, Jonathan Cole, goes up to the bar and he orders a Basil Hayden because they have it behind the bar. And thank God I caught it in time because it was literally the last round of edits. I was talking to a master chemist of Beams who is a parishioner of mine, and I know him well. And I was kind of mentioning, tooting little horns. Hey, I got Basil Hayden in here, and I told him a little bit of the story. He says, "When did you say that takes place?" And I said, "Well, August of '91." He says, "Basil Hayden didn't come out till September '92." So thank God I caught it because it would be for a bourbon person. That's you don't do that.
That's right.
So I changed it. It's Old Forester. In the book you read now, John calls out an Old Forester, which was still around. But that was right around the time where this sort of stuff became a thing.
So, Old Forester, you may want to, give a holler out
Well, I
to
can
Mr. Reed.
Well, I can tell you this much here. Every one of my books, I've gotten the first one has two bourbons mentioned. Old Forester's one, and Very Old Barton is another one. The second book that I have, it also has bourbon mentioned in there, as well as and the third book does as well. So bourbon is kind of a thing.
Which is interesting because in my writing, my main character does not drink at all. Which I don't know how the hell that happened.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say, hey, but somebody might,
Well, I thought about that. Originally, I was going to have some of the interaction with characters take place with people who worked at a fictional distillery, but I dropped that idea because it didn't make sense with the rest of the story. But
and as
I would still like to do that at some
I know,
point. That
and
fictional distillery will make it into a book somewhere.
I know, and it's kind of funny because as you talk about that, because you're writing through and you're changing stuff, and you're just rewriting different things in huge, great swaths, or expanding in your case. The first book, I had tons of that stuff. And I look back on it and I realize, Jesus, how close did I come to just screwing this up by not including this? Or shall I say, not listening? Not that I always listen to you guys, but you guys, Robert was one in particular that pointed out, wait a minute, you got two threads here. You got to figure out a way to put them together. And when I did it, that was the most bloody obvious thing I ever could come up with. But
Somebody somewhere would have also pointed that out.
Well, but then it would have been, but it would have sucked if I didn't do that.
Yeah.
But it is sublimely brilliant.
We had a lot of fun when you were in those early stages.
Oh, absolutely.
That was when it was just the three of us. And
Well, yeah,
I
and
remember one particular. We were at Roberts, and we were in the atrium, and we worked through
Oh yeah, we
a
worked through
ton
a
of stuff. It was
yeah.
so much fun.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you were the one that came up, and I don't think I gave you specific credit for this. Of course, you guys are all in the acknowledgments. If you, I don't know if you've read that, you'd have to go to the end of it.
no,
but,
no.
but you're all in
See, I
there.
looked at the beginning, saw your
Dedication
dedication to the
to my wife and my
Wife,
eldest daughter.
Yes.
Second book will be dedicated to the wife and middle daughter, and third book, wife and son. So
the boy.
the boy,
Indy.
yeah. So, but
We
but
named
I really,
the dog Indiana.
I really wished I had figured out a way to call Martin out in particular. Roberts probably deserves the biggest credit because he's the one that came up with the plot issue. I had to tie these two together.
Yeah.
Now I came up with the idea, but he's the one that pointed out the need. But Martin's the one that solves the issue of the whole renal artery with the knife business.
Oh yes, yes.
Because
Oh,
that's
yeah,
right. That
yeah.
because we were literally blocking a scene, and I had to figure out how do we get this person dead quickly. And then Martin's was renal artery, dude. You're using, I don't know why you know this stuff, mind you, but he knew that using a knife against somebody's renal artery is almost instantly death. That's
Ironically,
right.
Every one of our wives probably could have told you the same thing.
That's true. Oh
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
Well,
Maybe one of them certainly. but-
actually, those kind of scenes appear in the two novels Gordon Liddy wrote.
oh really? Okay. So you
Because
guys.
he,
Yeah.
he's familiar with that.
Yeah, G.
stuff.
Gordon.
I mean, his kids, his
Is he
sons.
still alive?
No, he did
No.
pass
He
away.
did
That's
pass
right.
away
I
finally?
did love his radio show at times.
It
got,
was fun.
It got pedantic over time, and he ended
Like
up
they all
selling
do.
his soul to a lot of vitamin companies, and I didn't like it much after that. But there was a time when it was gold,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I didn't realize that it was Gordon Liddy that informed me
Well,
of that.
a little bit. Well, of course, I'm Clancy.
Well,
I
I'm,
mean,
I'm
if
giving
you read
you the
Clancy,
credit, and you're
get
outing
Clark.
yourself.
But you can do a couple of different things. If you're doing knife stuff, you can do between a collarbone.
Okay, research here, folks,
It
online
is-
as
you
we
go,
do this.
Yeah.
you can have right here in the collarbone that will put you right through the arteries that go to the neck,
Well, it's kind of like they did in.
and you're out in a moment.
You remember
In
the movie,
Rome.
Troy. You remember the movie Troy?
Oh,
When Brad Pitt is Achilles and he comes and
actually, I didn't.
jumps on the guy and he literally does that thing that he's
Yep, you
twice
can
the-
put it right down there and there,
It's just
in between
boom,
the
done. Yeah.
right in the bottom part of the neck, in the collarbone, behind the collarbone, and that all protects arteries. And zoom, they'll be gone.
Yeah. Well, one of my characters, Jonathan Cole, the co-protagonist, he was an assassin and he prefers blades. So blades are kind of the thing that will always be coming back in the series.
I remember we blocked out the one interrogation scene too. The Russian he shoots the other one, and you had him originally. You had him shooting from the back while he was facing someone else.
Right.
And I said, "Oh no, you can't do that.
Oh, yeah.
You got to turn. He's got to
yeah,
come up from the side."
That's right, because the bullet has to go somewhere. That was the quotation that they're in a sub. This is I'm slightly spoilering a little bit. There's a scene in the first book, folks, that you can read that takes place in the sub basement of KGB headquarters, and a bullet is fired, and it was Martin that told me, no, it can't be that way. It needs to be this way because that bullet's got to go somewhere, and it's not going to stay in the guy's head. So hey.
Well, and
Your guys' fingerprints are all over these.
and as a good thing for the knives, also, carbon fiber doesn't show up on an X-ray or not X-ray, metal detector.
Metal detectors.
Well, there's some truth in that because John has a belt that was Russian made actually that has hidden knives in it, but the sleeves.
The
are
babushka gave it
The
to him.
babushka gave it to him after she felt him up, but that's another story. But it's got a leaden sleeve to it where it blocks it.
block
if
it from
From
X-ray.
X-rays, you wouldn't see that. It's just a
Right,
block.
that's nice.
That one's mine. I'll take that one. I'll keep up with that idea. But anyway, you'll see.
So that's how exciting this book is, listeners.
Yes.
There's action. There's
Oh yeah, it's a thriller. It is
it's a
designed to be
thriller.
a thriller.
It's
I
very
don't.
Clancy-esque.
I
for
don't
me.
like to say to limit it what type of thriller. An espionage thriller is probably true, but it is definitely a thriller. It has a heavy romantic subplot to it. I know that if Cajun would hear, he kind of likes that.
Lots of sex.
No,
I'm
No.
joking. I'm joking.
PG-13, folks.
I know.
I got the S word one time. I love my publishers; they're fantastic. And he says, we try to keep this where it's, you don't. My original drafts, I had profanity everywhere. He says, no, that's cheap writing. You know better than that. And I'm thinking, yeah, I probably do. So don't try.
Yeah.
The
Well,
profanity won't do the heavy lifting that you think it will.
Yep.
So
it
by rewriting
certainly
it's so much better.
depends on the characters.
Yeah.
There has to be some authenticity with
So
a
far,
character who would is going to swear. If you don't have him swear, that's dumb.
surprisingly enough, I was concerned about that. But when writing it and the way I ended up rewriting it, I didn't miss it. I got the S-bomb one time because the main character Tasia, she calls the man who is her lover, she calls him shithead. That's just what she calls him. But I used the Russian word for it. That's what she called govnyuk, which I know you liked that word.
Yeah.
Constantly, that's what she calls him all the time. But I told my publisher, she says, you're gonna out that word or nobody gets the joke. You have to at least say that what that means. You do that the first time she uses it, and after that, everybody gets the joke, and it's fine.
Yeah.
So, so each book, that's what she calls him. You have to explain what it means that first time. So.
All right.
Anyway, we have gone far afield.
Yeah.
I didn't plan on
But
doing
this
that.
leads
Way-
me back
way
to
out.
where I want to go.
All
with
of
your
that
quote.
was an example of the last part of your quote.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
Yes.
Talking about how we did that with you and your
Yeah.
book.
That is the support that you guys have given
Yeah.
me, and I even in the acknowledgments that I have, I can't possibly really get to the depth of how you guys have helped me, and made it such a really great. You guys all you have written books, guys. You've helped me write mine.
Belief is a very powerful
is.
thing.
It is absolutely it is, and
It's
I
for good and bad.
it's-
But in this case,
and you all brought forth in the acknowledgments on all three books. Like I said, just the
Yeah.
first one.
It's a lot easier for you to believe in yourself when you've got people that are believing in you.
Holy mackerel, man! That's the imperator.
Yeah.
I'll hail the
Yes.
imperator on that one. 'Cause That's
Yes.
exactly right.
Well, you have to be able to trust those people.
You do.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we-
that's true. We hadn't
'cause-
talked about that. Maybe
Because
that's
some
where we need to
people-
go.
Some people are naturally going to encourage other people, which is a great thing.
yeah.
And this is a internal problem, not with people you don't know encouraging. It's the internal problem is when you can't believe those people.
Yeah.
and that is another major problem with the way
Yeah.
some people work in the
Well,
world.
we've known each other for 40 years.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
about. So we obviously trust each
Oh, yeah.
other, and we also trust each other's expertise in the area. I mean, we're different places and different things, but we all know we know language,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That we
So,
do.
and we also know. I mean, Martin and Cajun both are my gun experts.
Mhm.
Goodness knows, if you're writing a thriller set in modern day, you better have a gun expert,
Yeah.
folks. Because you guys have told me, you can do the research. You can find out that yes, a Smith and Wesson 10mm was in use by the CIA, FBI in 1991. That's why they carry that.
Yeah, I'm not I don't own guns. I have fun shooting them on the rare times I get to do it. So I would have more in the house if I had the money, and the wife would be more amenable to that. But not being a gun nut, it drives me nuts when I see the stupid stuff.
Oh, absolutely. One of
yeah.
One of Cajun's.
Here, put this clip and let me put it in my not a magazine. It's a magazine, not a clip.
Thank you. I'm glad you
You know,
mentioned that
a
because
clip is a very specific thing.
Cajun hit me with that first off, and he did it before I had made the mistake. I don't think I would have, might have, but he told me early on in early drafts, he said, whatever you do not say clip.
No.
It's magazine. They will run you out of the town on a rail.
But you know what? The number of authors that I have seen write
Published authors.
yeah. Well, and not just published, because you can publish without much oversight, and they're still validly published books.
Right.
But books that go through big publishers or even small publishers that make this mistake,
Right.
and that's what drives me nuts.
Because
It's
if
a
you're
simple thing,
If you're publishing in that genre, you
Well.
should know enough about that.
But
right?
most people don't, and and I've seen one of the most humorous things is I was seeing it was an interview that the BBC, I believe, was doing with some woman, and they were talking about how the U.S. government had shot at her house, and she holds up an entire bullet and said how these were spread all over in front of her house.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's like, okay,
All right.
Yeah.
it's
The entire from
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
and
I've got something for you, Francis.
Oh, sure. Okay.
I want to see what you think here, because you're our Greek language, you know the term person.
Okay.
mhm.
Belief is a form of love,
Yes.
Mhm.
I would agree with that
and
completely.
but it's a particular one of those Greek terms
One of the
love.
three types of love, and Robert knows this too.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. The three types of love that you're talking about here. Eros is the lowest
Yeah.
of those. It refers to go platonic. It would be the loins or the guts.
which is an ironic way to put it.
Absolutely. That's where the lust is. That's where that lowest form of attraction, you should say.
Yes.
I don't want to demonize it because it is a very authentic thing. But Eros is the lowest.
Mm-hmm.
The mid range would be Philios, fraternal love. It would also be the spirit, that spirited part, the heart. Would be what Plato would ascribe that to, the brotherhood. We
Yeah.
have Philios love for each other.
Yeah.
Agape love is the highest form. It would be part of the head of the charioteer, the person who's making the decisions ultimately. Agape is also self-sacrificial. It does the highest level of love. Those are the three
It wants
types
the
of
best for the
best
other,
for the other.
for the sake of the
Right.
other.
It does
That's
what
the
is-
part that makes it
That's
self-sacrificial.
right. And it does what is right because it is right.
Yes, not because you get something out of it.
That's right, or all that sort of stuff. So those are
So yeah, I
in an
mean
instant,
that's
that's it.
that belief, because you mentioned a word there early on too when we first started discussing, and that was doubt.
okay. Yeah,
You
doubt.
know, where you had those doubts that you had those doubts, and of course at that point we didn't know either. We had doubts too.
Oh, you mean as part of the writing journey?
Yeah, as part of the writing journey, we were like, well, I don't know. I guess he can. Well, I don't know if he can or not.
Well, I knew that
And you
anybody can do it, sort of, but
Well, the
Yeah,
question
but-
is how well.
and that's exactly right. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
exactly.
And-
But is this going to be shit, or is this going to be just amateur, or can I take this to the level where I'm proud of it and know that?
And honestly, I used to think, yes, anybody can do anything, but there's so many caveats to that.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
yeah.
Because it's, it, because you are a human being with made in the image and likeness of God.
Amen. Amen.
Absolutely, you are able to do anything. The problem is you will not do anything. You purposely choose to not follow
Yeah.
your ambitions, or they are beaten out of you, or you purposely choose to ignore. Or sometimes, yeah, you could do it, but you're just not interested in it, which is perfectly fine too.
Yeah.
So the ability I think everybody has, but what I've come to really believe is that, especially when it comes to the creative arts, that ability has got to be nurtured from the earliest point.
Yeah, I mean, how do you overcome the doubts?
Well,
I think early on we weren't that helpful to you, but once you started pushing, and we could see, hey, but
Well,
we can be a part of it. We can
I think when you
encourage
went from
and affirm your ambitions here, and so it did become that belief.
I think maybe because I can see the confusion on your face, and I think maybe I understand what Martin is saying. I think when you went from starting out doing a fan fiction to finish up, which series was it?
the Nick Carter kill.
The Nick Carter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
Just for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you started doing that, I think that was like, no, okay, that's it's kind of a lark.
Yeah, that's right. Nobody's
yeah.
ever going to
But-
see it. I'm just going to.
Yeah.
It'll be my own
Yeah,
thing.
and that-
But once you turned it into your story,
Yeah, then it was
and,
something
and,
else.
Then that's different.
That's right. And Cajun was the one. And again, the creative process was I'm thinking through this. I'm recognizing that the end of that series coincided with the fall of the Soviet Union, and I recognize there's a synergy there.
Right.
That's something to work in. And I ran through the outline, and Cajun looked at it first, and he says, and I'll always be grateful. He says, "Don't you dare waste this on fan fiction. This story is too good."
It was. I mean,
and
once,
you're
once
right,
you
yeah.
realize that crossover piece of it, it was stunning. It was like, wow, dude, you got a tiger by the tail.
Well, yeah, and it's and I
You
realized,
gotta
and it
go
also
with this.
freed me because I was able to.
Oh,
I
that's
wasn't
the best
set
part.
within
That's the
within
best part. Yeah.
because the fan fiction I was playing with, it was very limited. You know, because you had certain conventions and certain things like that. And to be honest, looking back as I've done readings of these old books, I loved them in the '80s, but they were written by ghostwriters, and the quality is all over the place. Some of them absolutely
well, and
suck, but many of them were well written. But again,
a lot of the
character was
especially those series that start out by one guy who writes maybe 5 books and then farms it out to somebody else
Yeah.
for the rest of his life, and sits on the money.
Yeah.
Um,
Don Pendleton's a good example. He did 38 books, and then he turns it over to Gold Eagle Books, and it's always
Right.
they're taking the character. He kind of helps a little bit, but basically he sits back and takes the checks.
right, which is
Nothing
hey,
wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I would take those checks every
Well,
day.
absolutely, because it's. I mean, Mac Bolan's series is a gazillion seller. I
Right.
mean, and it-
But the standards change.
Absolutely.
A book written 100 years ago, or 100, 150 years ago, is going to be thicker, denser. It's going to be a lot more telling than showing.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot more internal ruminations that. Oh, hold on a second.
and
Word boner.
yeah, very good. Yes,
I didn't do that intentionally, but I realized as I said it.
good
Oh,
one.
it's a good word boner.
that's a good part.
But there's going to be a lot more internal ruminations. It's lots of self-examination, and then you get into especially the 50s and 60s. Books go from this thick, which 5 or 6 inches, down to less than an inch, because
Right.
you're getting a much smaller page count.
Right, 'cause
and
that's when the
that's-
paperback explosion's coming out,
Exactly.
and you got people that anybody that can that can run a typewriter and get you something coherent is putting stuff out
Right.
because there's an enormous appetite for this.
And nowadays, one of the biggest differences between even now and 20 years ago is scenes or chapters, because nowadays they call them chapters, but they're really just a single scene,
Yep.
and they're short.
Yeah.
Anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 words. You get much beyond 2,000 words, and it's a long chapter,
Yeah.
really long.
Oh yeah, I remember reading some of the old books,
And that's because of social media.
well, you're right, because I can read books that were written in the 70s and 80s, and you might have a 60,000 word book with 10 chapters.
Yes,
Unheard of now.
right.
And some of the better writers, and I'll give you a name, Robert Randisi, who was really good at the Killmaster series that I started with all this stuff here. He would write a 60,000, because most of these books are 180 pages, 200 pages. That's 60,000 words, and he's got 40 chapters. Some of them are only 1 page. To me, that was prophetic on how
Yeah.
that keeps you rolling past this.
Yeah.
I hate, when is this chapter going to end? When is this
Well,
chapter going to end?
it's
I hate
interesting.
that.
I am reading Hugh Howey's series that the Apple TV series Silo is based on.
Holy crap! Her Majesty, gosh, she's in the other room. I hope you hear this, dear. She is hooked
On Silo?
on Silo. We just
It's
finished
excellent.
We
It's
just finished the second season, and in fact,
There's
she
gonna be
even
2 more.
Yeah, 2 more. And in fact, she sent me one of the Instagram memes. What do you do if you're married to a Silo fanatic? And she's driving in the car, and the woman is saying, "I want to go outside. I want to go outside. I want to go outside." That's right. If you've seen the series, you know what we're talking about here. And she went absolutely nuts for it, and
So-
it is fantastic series. You're right.
It is. So reading these books, first of all, I'm having a severe cognitive dissonance.
So you've
because-
read all of them?
No.
Oh, okay. 'Cause
So I'm having some severe cognitive dissonance because I thought I'd read the whole thing before, but I'm reading stuff that I don't remember as being stuff that I read, and it's not just because I've seen the 2 seasons of the TV series, because there's a lot of differences.
yeah, and it's
Lots of
not because you're getting old.
Well, it might
It might be.
Maybe.
I'm just saying that.
It
yeah.
might be.
It might be.
But one of the things I've noticed is, and this is a relatively recent, but this is like in the last 10 years or so, if I remember
Yeah,
right.
because it's. I think it was.
And Hugh
recent.
Howey, as a matter of fact, wool is the original name of the book. And the reason for that is because wool is the material that they use to do the cleaning.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
why
That's
it's
the
called
name of the
Wool.
original book. Okay, see, 'cause I
Yes.
don't remember all that stuff.
So
But it's a within 10 years. That's a recent book that they're adapting.
it is, but long chapters,
Really?
not a whole lot of scene breaks in them, which is interesting. I kind of like it because it's still engaging. But I realized I had gotten used to thinking, all right,
We
I can
don't
read
write
just-
that way anymore.
I can just read a little bit more and get to a perfect stopping point because it's going to be the end of a scene. Nope.
Yeah.
Got to read a little bit longer than
I always saw that as a bug. Whenever you had when it going on and on and on, and
Well,
it
it
takes
wasn't
forever to
going
get to a
on-
chapter.
It wasn't going on in the sense that why aren't you ending this? You could have ended it, 20 pages ago.
Yeah.
It just went on and on because it was still interesting, but it was the story as it was being told, and it was fine.
Interesting. Now,
It was the expectations
a lot of
had
question.
been different.
A lot of dialogue, a lot of exposition, a lot of.
No, there's a lot of dialogue.
I don't know. I'm curious.
There's a lot of dialogue. I mean, it's
What
third
kept
person
you
close.
engaged?
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
Partly it's the story. It's post-apocalyptic setting.
Sure, which usually
which,
I'm.
you know me. I'm big on that.
You are, and usually I run for the hills with that stuff. But I stayed with
and it's
it.
a
I
unique
watched it with
setting.
her.
This is one of the most unique science fiction books that you'll read.
Didn't think you could do that anymore.
But the concept is great.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
I mean, you've seen variations on this kind of concept where you've got a survivor group and all that.
Logan's Run is.
But
I thought of a lot
this
of
was just such a unique take.
a lot of pieces of that. Yeah.
And honestly, the TV series is a lot more complex. It's added a lot of layers.
Well, I
to
mean,
the
you've
book.
got some great actors and actresses.
you do.
You've got Common, you've got Tim Robbins,
And you got the
of course,
visuals.
Rebecca Ferguson,
Yes,
who
yes.
herself, ironically,
like Common.
the visuals on this, because it's in the silo.
Silo, yes.
but my goodness, I guarantee you the sets are cheap. You build one and you got it because everything.
You just have to redress that.
You just have to
set.
redress that set, and it's
I mean, there are some other sets, but yeah,
Yes.
yeah, you've got the internal. Everything's internal.
yeah,
Except for
it's a bottle show.
it's a bottle show, and that's cheap. And because Rebecca Ferguson, I really liked her in The Last Showman. She's the one that
I have not seen that. This is the
worth.
first thing I'd
It's
seen her.
worth your time. She doesn't. She sings, but it's not her. It's dubbed. But dang, it's good. And she's been in other things, but I really liked her from that. And she can carry it. She's that
She
good of an
is
actress.
good.
She
She is very
really
good.
is.
She's
really-
got intensity and presence that
She
the
does. I know. I
character.
don't know if Martin, if you have Apple TV, Mrs. Francis is all over Apple TV. She will watch it.
Apple TV is one of the best
See,
networks out
and,
there.
and I'm telling you, and this is high praise for her because you can go to Netflix and she'll zip through things, and nothing was very interesting, but she will watch almost anything on Apple TV because it's there. She realizes it's got to be good
It's
if they produced it.
It's very. They're all the ones I've seen are very
And,
creative.
and we
they're
probably
very
got 6
well
or
acted.
8 of those that we've watched and have never been let down.
So one quick point while we're talking about this, and then we'll finish if that's
Cool.
all right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Just to point out, the original book Wool,
Yeah.
was self-published by Hugh Howey.
Really? Now, I don't know him. Is he? I mean, is he going on to publish other things?
Oh
is it-
yeah, yeah.
I mean, obviously, if it got made by Apple TV, he's done pretty
yeah,
well with
he
it.
became a big name because Wool took off.
Is that what it was? And it was
Okay, so
self-published.
Self-published.
It was originally self. Now the next ones I don't think were.
well,
They
somebody
may have
somebody
been.
picked it up eventually, and
Well,
Somebody
yeah,
offered him, something to do it. Then
most likely because I
Yeah.
mean, you know,
to be able to come up with a brand new, clean, fresh, post-apocalyptic sci-fi idea that's pretty
it's
impressive.
a fresh take on a survivor group.
That's right, and
I mean, that's what every zombie movie is.
well, that's
It's a
The
survivor
Walking Dead.
group.
The reason it was so good, it was because it was a fresh take on the people and the characters
Yeah.
within this environment.
The only thing I don't like about the TV series that doesn't fit is that Tim Robbins is absolutely not the same as the Bernard in the book.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
because he
The Bernard
doesn't
in the book is short and tubby.
really. Well, I mean, I used to detest Tim Robbins. I have no idea.
Yes, he's a great actor though.
I have no idea why. It's not fair to him on all that. But I've seen him in this one here in particular, and I've seen him in a few other things. But and maybe it's Shawshank. I realized, holy crap, this guy really does have the chops.
When he was
And
big into political activism, he was
that's
he was
probably-
annoying.
That's probably what
yeah, because
annoyed
he
me much.
kind of let it overshadow his talent, but he is a good actor.
He really
and
is.
is.
And in this book here, he brings it home. He really, I mean, the series.
In the series,
he
yeah.
really does bring. It
I
home.
like Bernard in the series better than I do. Well, oddly enough, and as you said, I mean, there's 10 episodes per season, so 10 episodes is a lot of page time.
Oh
When
yeah,
you think about it.
Yes, yes.
So they're able to layer in so much more.
10 hours, and we've had 2 seasons so far, and we're essentially halfway through the story.
Yes,
And there's because they've committed to 2 more.
and I am at the
And
point
It's
in
about the right
book
amount. Yeah.
where we are in the TV show, give or take a little.
okay. Now
There's a lot of book left.
I was going to say
Yeah, it's a 3-book volume.
Okay,
It's the whole thing in one.
the whole thing is the story is complete
Yeah, as far as I know.
as it's been written. Okay.
It's interesting because on the show, the whole thing with the other silos and
Right.
the hidden vault and all that,
Right.
way more complex than what Hugh Howey had described it as. It's very interesting to note the differences.
Most good TV series recognize the difference between the print medium and the visual medium.
Yes.
You have to make adaptations and things
yeah.
like that.
There's a
And
huge difference.
very much so, and all the good ones do it. They recognize, well, this you didn't show, but you need to, things like
Yes.
that.
Martin, what was it you were going to say?
So it's time to circle back.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you would, Francis, give us the quote one more time,
All right,
and then I do think I have a tiny bit of follow up on.
Yeah, I was
and
gonna say,
I've
'cause
got
We're at
one too.
121 here.
yeah, we're about. I want to finish this off here.
I've got
But
one too.
Yeah, but I want to kind of give us all a chance to kind of finish it off because we've been dancing around it. Even the Bourbon Break ended some time ago. We just didn't acknowledge it. But again, Twain's quote is "Keep away." I like that word. Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people always do that, but the really great make you feel that you too can become great. That's the
Stay away from people who belittle your ambitions.
There's so much
Small-
that you could unpack in that.
I know this. I mean,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah. Again, that's not a person you want to be around. Why would you be around somebody like that? That would make fun of you.
I'll tell you
put
why.
down.
Because sometimes those are the only people that pay any attention to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we do have that desire for acceptance and desire to be in a social group. So you live with
Well,
it.
you don't. Beyond this one.
Beyond this one, yeah. I mean, this is the only one.
But he does have this one.
But he does have this one.
Yeah,
Yes.
Right.
and that's what makes this one so good is, again, this notion of doubt. You guys, oh, Martin, you can do it. You can do it. I don't know.
Sure, you can.
And I doubted it completely until I had like 5,000, 10,000 words in. And then
that's
I was like,
And
you know
that's a
what?
drop in the bucket.
That's dropping the
It
bucket.
is,
Yeah,
it
that's
is.
what
But at that point,
120.
It was insurmountable when you start.
yeah.
How could I do
it's-
10,000
yeah,
words?
it's like I didn't think I could do that, and it's like I've got that far. Okay, the guys are right.
You just kind of have
It
to.
might take me forever, but it can be done.
You just have to realize the
do it.
length that you have to stretch the canvas to fit that 80,000 words. But if you figure it out because you've read it a million times, you've seen it a million times, well, yeah, in order to keep this sustainable and
Yeah.
going, this arc, it's somewhat intuitive because you've consumed this media all this time.
Yeah. Yeah,
you
it's
can
like,
make this work. It's not hard.
it's like, okay, this is not impossible. It can be done.
Yep.
The guys are right, and I so appreciated again that somebody that didn't belittle that ambition, that sparked it, and you know,
Yeah, because your
saw
novel,
something in me that I didn't see in me.
right now you're going to release this to the group when the first draft is finished, or you're going to
Yes. Yeah, I got to have it complete.
Well, I understand that, but I didn't
Right.
know if you were going to edit first.
Well, I edited a lot too as I go because I
have found that to be a very good process.
It depends on the writer.
it gets the
it really
juices
does.
Absolutely, I know
flowing.
there's many different ways to
Well,
do it.
because I'm doing it in fits and starts.
Yeah,
It really.
yeah. If you can't spend a lot of time on it continuously, you almost have to go back and
Read the last couple chapters.
yeah,
You got to go back and
edit them a little, tighten a little, and realize.
even from
where
day
do
to
we
day,
go.
I'll go back and look at the last thing, especially
do.
on the
Yes,
first draft. I always go
yes.
back and look.
Always
and see
do,
what was
yeah.
the last thing I was doing.
And even when I'm editing, I still do the same thing. If I know I'm up to this point, I'll go back and reread those last two. I'll always change something.
Yep,
Not much.
yep.
Not bad.
Oh, wait,
Jerry
yeah.
Jenkins talks about
An idea.
when he writes, and I mean he's done like 190 books.
I was going to say the guy
So
knows his
he
business.
is
Yeah.
prolific as hell, and he starts out editing what he wrote the day before,
That's kind of what I do. Yeah.
and he doesn't go on to writing new stuff until he's finished polishing that. So by the time he gets the entire book done, he's got a really polished draft. He does
That's
not
right.
need to go back and do lots of other drafts, but that's also because he's written 190 books. He doesn't need to go back.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
know,
because usually what
if
I
you've
what I
written-
struggle with is cohesion
Mhm.
when you're doing those other passes, I call them, to make sure that what you paid off here, you're not blabbering about because you cover it later. It really
Yeah.
so you cut and it flows and
Yeah,
it,
that's
it
where
One
really
of the things
smooths through.
that
that you'll get there when you get to the editing process.
Yeah,
You're
that's
not
what I'm
there yet.
finding with cuts is. I don't need to explain this.
No, you're right, and
Yeah.
a lot of exposition bad, dialogue good.
massive exposition is bad.
That's right. Yeah.
There's always some
Dialogue,
exposition.
dialogue.
somewhere.
It's necessary. You cannot completely cut it, or you're confusing people.
But one of the things that is this pro level tip, and it can't be emphasized enough, and it is not emphasized enough when it comes to the editing process. Each pass should be done with a different goal in mind.
Amen. Amen. I
When
agree.
you are editing, so when you get the book done, you're doing story editing for the most part.
Yeah.
That's what you do when you're doing your first draft. When you get to the next draft, maybe what you're looking at is continuity of characters. Are my names the same? Are they acting the same
Yep.
throughout the
yep.
entire book?
Yeah.
Because the guy when you created him is very different than where you ended.
Quite,
Yeah,
almost,
Very
almost
likely.
always,
Almost,
yeah.
yeah.
Then you're looking at, am I using proper grammar and spelling throughout although that's probably last. There should be just different points
Yeah.
of each edit.
I,
So
call, I call the later passes a beauty pass.
Yeah.
Well, that's
know,
when you add in
cut out the extra words you don't need, the filler words. Like
That's right.
that. That is the worst filler word ever.
and thanks to your original edits, I don't have to cut it because I don't use it. I figured out a way to change myself the way I
Well-
thought about it, and I don't need it.
That was one of the great things about editing your, it was like 15th or 16th version by the time you gave it to me to
Was it the full version? Was it complete? Was it
Yeah,
complete
yeah, it was
through?
complete,
Okay, good, yeah.
But you also had done other drafts, so I had to, it's like I had to. Matter of fact, I think I told you at one time, stop,
Yeah.
so I could give you back because I was doing notes on things that were no longer in the book.
No, yeah, that's true. Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's just how we, the first book, you don't really know what.
Yeah, because once you get past a certain point in the editing, you're not making a whole lot of changes to a particular scene, but you're making a lot of changes overall,
That's right.
generally speaking. But yeah, cut out the filler words. And Jenkins has a list of things you should look for, and each one of those is a pass in the edits.
Yeah. Stuff that you exposit early, you don't need because by the time you get later, you don't need it.
So, but anyways, I mean that's kind of off the beaten path there. From
I really
the
like
topic,
that.
but-
The watch for the character consistency tip.
Yeah, because
They
and,
can't
and
act
plot
one
too,
way.
because
they can't act one way at the beginning and a different way at the end.
unless there's a reason for it.
Yeah, there's
right.
growth.
Yeah. But of course, with mine, a lot of people zoom in and out for just a moment because it's cops. So when
You
cops
don't need
are,
that.
when
who
cops
cares?
are doing stuff, there's always other cops around.
Right.
So they're just vessels to move the action around.
Right.
So
Right, yeah, because I'm sure, but because what you have is police procedural. It's heavy on plot.
Yeah.
It's going to be, this is happening, this must happen, this has to happen. Let's
yeah,
fix this.
so, yeah, you can't-
That's the genre, and there's it's cool. The trick is, do you tell too much too quick? That's what I found in a thriller. Stop
Yes.
here. Stop here. Don't tell them the plan. Let them see the plan when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know that until you've written the book.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't give too much of the evidence away at the beginning.
That's right.
They need to find out some of this later.
That's right.
Because it can't just be
the editing.
the next day they got that. No, that's not realistic. You can't get that
Yeah.
I love the way you
conclusion
say,
in 2 hours.
I love the way you say that, because if you've got a good realism barometer in your genre, my genre too,
Yeah,
that saves you so much.
yeah.
It does. Yeah.
It really does.
I have
Fantasy and sci-fi is a
good-
little bit
a
different.
good
Still has
realism
to make sense,
for
though.
That's right.
bureaucracy.
Yes, and you do know bureaucracy.
I
Don't
mean,
you?
police are nothing
knows
but
it.
but bureaucracy.
The Imperator had something he
I
had
do.
to say.
I've
yes.
got a good one that could be an end for this one.
Excellent.
Perfect. Bring it home.
One of the things I do is I'm in AA, and I chair a lot of meetings, help out, what have you. And one of the things that we explain to people is you have to have a good home group. You have
Amen.
a group that you dedicate yourself to going to that meeting,
Right.
what
right.
have you. And the way I explain that to people is we are here to love you until you can learn to love yourself.
Amen.
That's a great point.
And that's what we do here. We love each other,
That's right.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
even when we have personal doubts.
Belief is love.
Or when we get on each other's nerves.
Yeah,
you
we
know, I
do
mean,
that all the
it's-
time.
Not really, but
Well, I mean, that's why we're talking about hold that thought on.
Yeah, I know.
But it's out of
It's
love.
out of love.
It's out of
absolutely.
love.
We never doubt that. We never doubt that. That's for sure.
Well, and that goes back to
I like that, Marcus. Thank that was terrific.
something I was thinking about early on in the episode. As more than an hour ago now.
Sometime in the past.
Yeah, because an hour ago is when we started the bourbon break.
And at our age, we don't necessarily remember an hour ago.
Exactly. But one of the things that we were talking about, and it goes back to one of the. I mean, I can take anything back to the inherent dignity thing. And that's not where I'm going with this, but that could be part of it. Keep away from those who belittle you and all that.
yeah.
What he's doing, he's talking about craft the relationships that you put yourself into.
Relationships, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything comes down to relationships.
Absolutely.
Everything.
That's
Be
what leadership is
be
a
deliberate.
relationship, Yeah.
yeah.
Healthy relationships.
It is
Avoid the toxic.
yeah. And I like to point out, I'll point this out in homilies, everybody you come into contact with, you have some sort of relationship with. It might be a fleeting one, but there's a relationship there.
Amen.
And I think far too often we don't think about our interactions with one another in that way. Because if we did, I think we treat each other a hell of a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
I agree.
But I when I was thinking about the quote as you were reading it, and I don't remember what the early stuff was that triggered this thought, triggered in a good way, not in a bad way. But it just brought me back to that, the whole idea of the relationships. And, that's how we talk about the brotherhood.
Yeah.
Somebody that actually likes you, although I suppose you don't even have to be liked by somebody to be encouraged by them.
Yeah. I suppose it's true. Yeah.
But it's more likely to be that way.
Yeah.
But somebody that you can trust to tell you like it is, but do it in a way that is encouraging. Like when your former owner of Signature, or the owner of Signature where you used to work, would fire somebody.
Yeah.
I mean that's treating people.
Yeah, it's like this isn't going to work out, but that doesn't mean you're a horrible person. Let's talk about what you can be good
And
at.
that's time he probably didn't have.
which-
but
I
it was
wanna-
time well spent.
Yeah, I want to
no,
build you up.
It makes it a lot less likely for you to get shot in the back out in front of a hotel.
Well, there is that.
Yeah, okay. So hold that thought.
Yes. That's another show.
What's next time?
All right, I think we
Francis?
finished this one here out.
yeah,
We're
It's a
gonna
good discussion. It
It was
really
a very
is.
good
was.
discussion.
We need to put a pin in this
Yeah,
one.
we're going to shift gears completely. I do not know which one of us thought this up, but I think it's brilliant. We're going to talk about short-lived TV shows.
This
We're
is
going
a-
to
I think this is a brother
Andre. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's a brother
We're
Andre.
gonna, now we have no idea where this is going to go. Each one of us, I'm pretty presuming, will kind of have our own pieces that we want to throw out here. In fact, the Imperator was asking me, well, what's the concept here? Basically, anything that lasted a season or less,
Okay.
and
that's the
what
idea.
that we thought was actually kind of cool.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that we think was worth watching.
So which he is picking Firefly?
Well, Fireflies is an
Firefly
obvious
made, what,
example.
2 seasons?
No, it was just
No,
one.
it's just one.
13.
One in a movie.
Okay.
So you've got, and
episodes.
in fact, the entire first season didn't even show. They
Okay.
filmed 4 episodes that they had to get on DVD. That's a great example of what we're going to talk
Yeah.
about next time, about some really hidden gems you may not have been paying attention to.
The one-hit wonders of TV.
I like that.
Sorta,
I
kinda,
think there's
yeah.
something to be said for that. Be here next episode. We're going to really have a good time.
We hope you enjoyed another pointless discussion of eternal questions. Remember, new episodes drop every second and fourth Friday at 6 a.m. Eastern, just in time for your morning commute. And every fifth Friday, we drop a special Hoopajube episode. Spread the word we are on all the major platforms, and leave us a review. That helps others find us. We're also on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, as well as our website, snakesandotters.com. Join us next time, same snake time, same otter channel.